Gangsta was always synonymous to what we thought was cool growing up, and, where I'm from. So for me, it was just showing folks like your family is what's cool. Being vulnerable is what's cool.
Goes around, comes around, applies to me too. I know I hurt you, baby, but I lied to me too. See, I could never switch, hope you ride for me too.
You have done such a beautiful job, I think, of continuing that healing journey from the last album, but this one felt very meditative and almost like a sonic sound bath in a way, just through the entire experience. Was that intentional? Did you want to continue that story of healing from Since I Have a Lover to this one?
For sure. I think one of the main goals was like to keep it as relaxed, as easy, as like just precise as it could be. And yeah, through production, through writing, through just the studio sessions in general, it just kind of stayed chill the whole entire time. And I wanted it to be that way. That's just where I am in my life right now. My daily routine requires me to like be at an even level, so the music kind of reflects that.
Oh, that's really cool. And so was it almost an additional step of healing just through going through the catharsis of creating the music and putting the lyrics together?
Additional step? Yeah, it was. And I like how everything just kind of fell together and worked out in a perfect way. Like my studio sessions, became therapy sessions outside of what I used to do. And I think with the last album, I had the tools to do what I needed to do in my life, but the healing journey wasn't necessarily like being followed through on. So it's like I knew what to do, I just didn't do it. And this album was like coming out of feeling like everything was about to fall apart. And to myself, this is kind of like the moment to hold yourself accountable, the moment to reset everything, the moment to let go of some folks who you need to let go of, and just see how that changes the music.
Yeah, I'm like stepping into that uncomfortability of growth, right? Okay, I'm glad that that's what you're saying, because that's what I was picking up on just through reading the lyrics and tapping into the album. And I mean, you've described your past studio album themes as You Against the World with Free Black, Opening Your Mind and Heart with East Atlanta Love Letter, and Coming Back to Yourself with Since I Have a Lover. I have to ask now, since I see the shirt with Heal From Your Trauma, is this the theme for this album that you wanted to focus on?
It's one of the themes for sure. I think in my own personal life, which always coincides with my creative life, it's one thing to have trauma and to like pinpoint it or acknowledge it, but it's a completely other part of the journey to figure out what you need to do to fix things that might be broken or might be fractured. So for me, this was like the final step of everything that I've been through, which is just like, don't just know where it comes from, like really do something about it, because otherwise life is way less fun.
Yeah. And is that something that happens naturally just as you're writing the music, as you're processing different themes in your life, where you're like, oh, I think I need to, having a hard day today, I'm going to write this and put lyrics to this, and then possibly while I'm working on the album, I might include this story and might add it to the overall theme?
I would love for the process to feel that way, but it's not. It's like everything has to get chaotic in some way, even if it's not like super high energy, but like the things that I'm hiding or running away from have to be like on my back, and it's almost like I'm left with no other option but to fix my life, and I don't like for it to be that way, and we're growing out of that for what is next. But for this project, it really took things getting like uprooted, and like I said, friendships, work relationships, actual relationships with partner, family, my children. Like it really took me looking at everything to figure out like how I wanted to do it, like what I wanted to talk about, how I wanted to do it, and how I was going to actually like graduate from everything like being a song or being an album or being a theme into like, okay, we're actually walking on the right path at this point. So.
And speaking of, just the relationships you're talking about letting go and coming back to them, even working wise, I'm assuming then that the collaborations for this album were even more intentional outside of that these are people that have walked through this journey of growth with you. Talk to me a little bit about specifically why you chose Young Thug, Mariba, and so many others, and kind of what they mean to you in that sense.
I enjoy working with my friends. It's like as simple as that for me. So the process from even just an executive producer like point of view, I worked with Childish Major on this album. I've known him since before, maybe like 2014 or 15. And this was during a time where I was figuring out my sound, but also going through a bunch at the same time. And we were close friends, but we never really got to truly like work together on a project. So we broke off, did our own things, and it brought me back to where I needed to be at this point. So the guys who I had worked with on my last few albums, love them to death. Like, those are my guys. But I needed a switch. With my last 3 albums, it was always, I work in the studio, I kick everybody out, and I call everybody in when I'm done. And this one was more interactive and more personal and more of a jam session. Like, just having everybody in the room, and if we talk for an hour or two first before we work, then perfect. Now we know what to make a song about. And then we have somebody on bass, we have somebody on guitar, we have somebody on keys, and we can just like build our ideas like as we vent and express ourselves to each other. So working with friends was super important because I think that friends can just pull that out of you more than anybody else. You get in a session with folks you don't know, and it can be a little, hit or miss.
Yeah, or I can imagine it would feel a little stifling creatively.
Yeah, it could be a little hit or miss. So I prefer to keep it as home as possible. Like Mariba, I've also known since the same amount of time. Thug, I've known since before me and him were doing our thing. Who else is on a project? Leon, I've known for a good amount of years, and now Leon Thomas, like the artist, is killing it right now. AZ Chike, I just met him, but I just kind of gravitate towards folks. Like, I saw what he had going on in his own world, and I was just like, I would like to have something together. So I made the song. I thought about him. He got added to the friend pool, and we just keep the family growing. That's all.
I love it, where it's a mix of the new and the old. And I mean, going from that switch to I'm working alone, and then I'm bringing everyone in to everyone's walking through this journey from beginning to end with me. How do you feel that you grew as an artist, just creatively challenging yourself in that way?
I think in the last few years, like, I needed to push what I knew like a little bit further. You can get comfortable writing a certain way or like having a certain cadence or talking about a specific thing, and I started to feel stagnant and a little bit less inspired, and I couldn't really pinpoint why at first, but then it was just like the realization that you've been doing this thing this way for this long, and you need to either make yourself uncomfortable, be okay with like sucking at something, and like being a student. And that was guitar kind of pushed me in that way on the last album. And this time it was just making my sessions more for everyone, where it was just like, I started out this way, I kind of veered away from it, but I want to get back to just community when I work. Like, that's just how you get the best ideas, and it's how you work on trust, and it's how you can continue to grow like your craft.
I know you mentioned the guitars from the last album, and then you started this album with that really smooth guitar with Bounty. Was that kind of just the continuation of that story?
Yeah, the guitar is like the through line from the last album to this album for sure. And most of the songs that we worked on for this album, we started with either guitar or bass line. So I'm still learning. I wish I was a little bit better than I am, but it's just something about writing to guitar where there's nothing you can hide from. There's no drums and things to like distract you from what's being said. You have to put your best pen to the paper. So.
Oh, that's really cool. I loved seeing the connection through that. And talk to me even just about creating those bookends from Bounty to The Story Is Mine, and what led you to say this is where the journey is going to start outside of the guitars, just even the story that song is telling, to ending it with that kind of bow tie at the end.
I mean, the guitar for sure, like I said, is the through line, and it feels like community when I hear somebody play guitar. It's like you can have a moment where you can sing together, you can have a moment where you can just listen. Like, the guitar just makes me feel grounded. And yeah, starting with Bounty and ending with Story Is Mine they're two of the same thing, but they're also opposites. Like, Bounty is kind of starting in the turmoil and starting like at the issue, and Story Is Mine is kind of wrapping it up and saying like, what I go through is what you go through, is what everybody else goes through, and there's no need to feel like so submerged as you might have felt in the beginning.
And I mean, just even with the conversations, I was watching a lot of your old interviews promoting Since I Have a Lover and talking about the need for therapy, the need for more mental health advocacy, and what that did for you and how that released you to love, to have more capacity to love. How much talk to me first, I guess, about those early conversations that you had with fans who felt, wow, I needed to hear this. I feel the reprieve, I feel the catharsis, I feel healed through listening to this. And how much did those conversations kind of influence then this approach and this story of, hey, I'm also still dealing with some of these things, and this is the uncomfortability I had to work through to get here?
My relationship with the folks who listen to my music has always felt a little more personal than what I see going on in other worlds. But yeah, it has been a linear journey like through each album, and I appreciate people being able to grow with me, or kind of like stand aside and watch me grow as well, because some people just aren't ready. And that's also been like a funny conversation where people are like, we want the old Black, or what happened to da-da-da-da, or can you make some of that this or some of that. I'm just like, we were there, we're here, pray I never have to go back to whatever that was. But yeah, it's nice to grow in front of people because it makes you like that much more accountable. And they've been able to see someone who was defensive and deflective and introverted and like just all of these things that I also labeled myself as, and to just kind of take them off as the years go by and say like, it doesn't have to be that way unless it's necessary. Like, you don't have to bank on like your saddest songs being your best songs or your favorite songs. It's like, you are walking towards feeling better in your life, so musically, how do you make music that feels better? And if I am going through things to where I just feel like I need a hug constantly in my life, now we're making music that is feeling like that hug that you need. So it's nice to grow with people. It's also nice to have just spirited conversations about where I was versus where I am right now. And I'm happy. Like, to see it on the road is the perfect exchange. It's like, to make it in the studio is getting it out of my system, but to meet people and to hear their stories of just like, this saved my life, or this is what reminds me of like this special moment in my life, or this special person in my life, or I'm not there yet, but like, thank you for this because maybe one day I will be. So.
It's kind of your unintentionally, just by being yourself, kind of serving as like that role model for a lot of people who need that extra like push of encouragement, right?
Yeah.
And I've had this conversation with other artists before who are maybe not as open to therapy or not as open to doing a little bit of introspection, where they're like, I'm scared that if I step away from writing from this either heartbroken or sad space, that my art is not going to be as great or to that level. Did you ever have that fear, and what kind of allowed you to push it aside if you did?
I never had the fear, but it is something to think about. Like, I've had the fear of just like, if my music isn't, as sad or whatever, then like, what does that look like? Or how do people respond to that? Or what does it look like for my career? And like, those are very early on things that people kind of go back and forth with. But as you just grow up as an adult, me personally, like, I have been able to do a million times more than I could have ever predicted. I've done the charting thing, I've done the plaque thing, I've done the tour thing, I've done like the award show, like I've done every part of it to where I don't have anything left to like prove to anyone. And this is my means of expressing myself. So, you just learn to let go of all the things that just don't really matter. And what matters the most to me right now is just making music that feels good. Like, there's no other way around it. And also, sometimes you have to jump out there and lead or do it on your own just to show everybody else, like, it's fine. Like, it might take a little more thought because when we are depressed or when we're frustrated, it's almost like a muscle memory to do something with it or to make something from it. And I appreciate it in the moments when I really, really need it. But you don't have to, like, curate your life to be that way. And it might take an extra brain muscle to make something positive feel as connected, with the world right now. But it's worth it, It's worth taking an extra 30 minutes on a song or an extra hour on a song or, taking a break and coming back to it the next day. Like, whatever you need to do to get it out, I think it's worth the process.
Yeah, and I mean, we talked about your relationship with the fans and kind of being that role model for them. But have you, given that you are highly respected as well in the industry as a musician, as a producer, as a rapper, do you feel that sense of responsibility, or has that almost created conversations with your peers of like, oh, I didn't even think about about my mental health or about therapy, and now I'm even better as a creative because of their friendship with you and because of their just reverence of who you are as an artist?
That is the only thing that I could ever hope for. It's like, for all of my peers, all of my friends, like, I don't have everything figured out. I'm not on a high to where my life is just like, look at me, I'm the guy. But if there's anything that you can take from me, it's just, I'm not doing anything that's exclusive. Like, I'm not following any practices that you can't look up on your own. I'm not doing anything for my body that you can't do for your body. Like, these are all things that we all have access to, and sometimes it's just nice to see someone doing it. And yeah, I've been able to see other folks at least question or wonder, like, what's therapy like, or how was that, or do it really work, and do I really got to tell them everything? And it's nice to just reassure folks, like, it's cool, it's fine, nobody will be there, you don't have to worry about your therapist leaking your deepest, darkest secrets. Like, it's a normal, everyday thing that everybody does, and it has benefits.
Yeah, and when did you know that you wanted to kind of put this responsibility on yourself, or kind of take it, or not put it on yourself necessarily, but take it on, given that you were seeing people start to come to you for those conversations?
I feel like I have subconsciously had a responsibility to just doing something good while I'm here on earth since I was in maybe like middle school. Maybe like middle school. It was like, that was when my rapping was, like, I was starting to figure out the purpose. It was like, is there a message in it? What do I want to say? During that time, there was like a moment where I was like, can I do it without cussing? Like, I was trying to figure out like who I was and how I wanted to present myself to other folks. And yeah, by high school and then early, my first year in college was when I realized, okay, like, if I'm not talking about something that like either feeds me or helps me or teaches me or nourishes me or is some type of critical thought, then I'm not talking about anything. So whatever we need to do to like create things that live under that umbrella, like, let's figure out what that is, because anything else is just for play. And like, that's cool too, but I need that blended with like some purpose.
Yeah, oh, that's really cool. I can't believe that started in middle school. That's wild. That explains a lot to the depth of your artistry, I think. And just with diving into, fatherhood as well, you've just, recently welcomed your second little girl. Your eldest is on the album cover. How much did fatherhood, on top of that journey you were already going through, really impact the message of growth and healing, not only for your benefit, but also for your daughters and for your family as well?
Having kids keeps you sharp. So if there was anything that I was just prolonging or procrastinating with, like, having a kid just wakes you up in a way that nothing else in the world could ever wake you up. That doesn't mean, like, have a kid in order to wake up. But when you do, my first album, before it was even finished, like, I knew I was having a kid. I found out in June. I went to LA in, like, August, and the album was out in November. So it was, like, a very quick shift of, like, I have a kid, I got to be responsible for myself and someone else. I don't have anything to my name. I need to go to work. Okay, work is getting done. and eventually mission accomplished. Took care of everything I needed to take care of. But if she wasn't in the picture, who knows how long, it would have took for me to get my life together. That was like a driving force in the beginning, and it still is today, to where it's just like I'm constantly trying to figure out a way to be a better man, better father, better brother, better friend, better artist. And my newest baby just pushed that on me like even more, because with her and my partner, I'm just like, us two together, I know that we're going to create something that's crazy and in the best way. So I'm just like, I need to like be super prepared for what this baby is about to bring into the world. And yeah, I mean, it's just the coolest thing ever. Like, I feel like the world is like that much safer with this very individual specific child. So with that responsibility that I have raising this next superhero, I'm just like, let me continue to like sharpen, everything.
What led you to say, I want to put my eldest with me on this album cover?
The album cover, the choice was, I had two covers. One was with me and both of the girls on it in front of a car, and it felt very like warm and California, honestly. It felt very like sunny California. But when I looked at the picture of me and my oldest, it was just the easiest thing for me to look at. Both of us are smiling, and I just thought about people being able to visualize and remember her being on my second album cover when she was in the baby carrier, and kind of just reminding everybody that time it's moving. Like, it's that baby that was on that cover is this kid that's like behind me and has so much of her own personality. And I really just wanted to call back to East Atlanta Love Letter. And Six is, she's a star. Yeah.
Love it. I mean, she like shines so beautifully on that cover. And you've also gradually through these last few albums made the switch from this like moodier monochromatic to a lot more of these vibrant colors. I mean, we see that royal blue on the album cover, even through Bird Flu. That music video is very, very vibrant. Is that almost just a visual, like, symbolic expression of that growth as well?
Yeah, it was definitely just intentional to go from black and white. And then East Atlanta Love Letter had like a muted but still colored tone to it. And then Since I Have a Lover had the purples and things got brighter. And this time, we just want to continue to open it up more. I think if you look at all my other covers, the other three, they go together in a way too, as far as how they were framed, to where it's just like a setting for the most part. It's me and the bear on a bed. It's me and my kid in a kitchen. It's me on a mountaintop. And this one was just, boom, just up close, personal, portrait, nothing else to take away from like what the focal point is, which was, I was kind of hiding behind a lot of things on the other album covers and in the music, on the other albums. So this is like I'm just no longer hiding type of cover. And when you see it, if you never knew what I look like, which could still be a thing, now you know.
Mm-hmm. That is true. You are kind of breaking out of that mysterious vibe that you were giving in those first few. And I mean, even through, it feels like there's a lot of callback, like you were mentioning earlier, even with Bear, where I immediately thought of, you've showed off the tattoo that you have, you've had the bear in the music video as well with Problems. Is that correct to assume that that's a callback? And also, why did you also decide to bring Yeba in with that sample as well?
Bear is definitely a callback to the first album. Bear is a nod to my partner, who, like, I always had the moniker, but she had officially given me the nickname by the time I met her. Mm-hmm. Her and her whole family calls me Bear. So through everything that I was going through, and what I spoke about on the song, I was just like, it's just proper for me to name it, who I'm talking to, who I'm addressing, which is my family, my friends, my partner. Just, bear with me, double entendre, but bear with me for a second as I continue to, be the person who I know I am. And the Yeba sample is that's just ear candy. This is my second time sampling Yeba. I did on the last album as well. And / was the person who picked that moment. It's one of my favorite Yeba videos. I forget the title of it, but just a great person, great artist, amazing voice. Very unconventional, unpredictable, and just a taste maker. Like, Yeb is great. So it was just nice to take that, blend it with my producer / and then I just come through and finish it off.
Parallels with just like the lyrics, and then also what my mind is talking about with that. You know, dealing with a complex relationship, and sometimes that is kind of with ourselves, you know, outside of just with other people. And you brought up your partner Quinn, who you also have collaborated with in the past. You're collaborating on this album vocally as well. How much has that partnership, outside of the romance of it all, really stretched you creatively as well?
It's still doing its work. Like, I think that people like have an idea of what creatives do when they are in relationships. It's like, oh, y'all just make things all the time, and it's just, you know, easy, and in the studio together. But I think part of our dynamic, like, has just been figuring out, like, how to trust each other, like, even more with, like, the things that we create. We were doing our own things, and I think naturally when you come together, there's a bit of a shyness that starts to, like, pop up out of nowhere. It's just like, oh, all of a sudden, you know, you don't play all your demos for someone, and all of a sudden, you know, you're shy when you're performing in front of them. And it's interesting that, like, it started off a way that was just so outgoing, and then it kind of got a little bit shy, and now we're at the part where we're, like, pointing it out and saying, okay, like, it don't need to be that way. Also, when you live with somebody, too, it's like all these things change things. And ultimately, I think we both have been able to express, like, we want more out of what we're born to do. And we want more of it together. So if it's shows, if it's a project, if it's a tour, if it's just ideas in general, like, we are working on doing more. Because, yeah, it's just, what's the point otherwise?
Talking about just the album in terms of the artistry behind it, because we see a little bit more funk, a little bit more pop from you in this one. What led you to say, I opened myself up a little bit more with guitars with the last one, and now I want to dive even deeper into something that is a little bit more still relaxed but upbeat?
Really, I just want my music to, like, even if it's relaxed, I just want it to feel more fun. Childish and Trey, who I, like, did mostly everything with on this album, they are producers, but they're also just, like, really good friends, really good instrumentalists, really good people to listen when I just need to talk. And I think naturally, like, once we started to get some of the pillars of the album out of the way, it was just like, let's just have fun from here on out. Like, what are we missing? Like, those are my favorite moments to color and, like, things to find. It's like, okay, we got Bird Flu, which was, you know, hip hop and, like, gritty, and it still kind of lends back to the old era. And then we got Sunday Again, which is warm and, like, family, and it was just like, what are the missing colors or the missing stories or the missing vibes? And that allowed us to just kind of trickle off into other things, like Foot on My Neck, I guess, and Visions, like, just a bunch of different things that are still cohesive. Like, I'm moving towards figuring out who I'm going to be for this next, like, stage of my career. And I think that it's just, like, allowing more influences to be just obvious in my music. So it might have existed and kind of settled in this R&B trap mood at one point, but it's just constantly, like, grown since then.
It's very cool. I love that this is almost like that tipping point, right?
Yeah, it's like
whatever you have in the future.
Something's coming, and I feel like I'm scratching the surface, and I am enjoying the sessions that I have now, because it's just like, I know I'm knocking at something that I haven't done before, and that's what I'm, like, craving for. It's like, I just need that. Like, there's no feeling like that, so.
That's amazing. And I know you're a big Prince fan as well. Would you say that he had a lot of influence on this album in terms of that more funk, upbeat sound as well?
Prince's influence is just present all the time. Like, we don't have to always, like, call back to an album or go to a record. It's just there. Like, I was listening to Sometimes It Snows in April a lot, and just like hopping around to different moments. But I think his attitude is just something that you're always aware of. Yeah. And as a creative, it's just like, how can I impress myself? Like, that's the ultimate goal. It's like, you can do things that other people, say that's cool. I like that. I love that. But when you have a moment where you're like, I did that. Like, I made that. Like, that's just what we're going for.
And what was that moment when working on this one?
Sunday Again was one of those moments for sure. It popped up throughout the course of making the whole entire album. But Sunday Again was like one of those moments where you just look at each other in the studio and you're just like, yeah, we did that one. Like, we ain't got nothing to worry about. Mm-hmm. Everybody's texting and calling, asking about deadlines and when we turning this in, and all the worry and just the business logical part of it just kind of gets silenced when you make certain types of things. It's just like, we're gonna be fine. If we turn it in this month or if we turn it in 3 months from now, we'll be okay. Just relax.
And what number was that in terms of working on the project? Because I believe it's 15 songs, right?
Yes, mm-hmm. It's technically 16 in full. Mm-hmm. We have 2 bonuses. Mm-hmm. One bonus will come out when the album comes out. It'll just be titled bonus. And the other bonus will populate at some point. But yeah, 16 total. 14 was the original, like, this is the album. So it ended with Bear. And then I just never stopped recording. So, yeah, the other ones just found their way into the track list.
Well, it feels very much like a spirit-led journey that you went on. Given that you have spoken a lot about just your spiritual practices as well, how much did that play into kind of the journey that you were taking with this project?
My spirituality plays a big role in every album, every song, every part of my life. If there's ever anything that feels off, it's because I'm probably needing to be praying more, talking to God more, going to church more, doing something that just like replenishes me in that area. So this time around, it was just like having more conversations with God and remembering, like, I don't have to necessarily always be at the church to just get what I need, like, and to feel protected and to feel safe and to feel just aligned with him. And yeah, it was a process to remind myself, because I felt like I had let all the extra, like, traumas kind of build up over time. And sometimes you can find yourself, like, in the middle of a bunch of problems and always wondering, like, why is it this way, or why can't I fix this, or why am I not feeling good today, or why is my mood like this? And all of the extra questions just kind of distract you from the fact that it's just like, where is your faith? Like, how much have you prayed? How much do you trust the process? How much do you trust God? How much do you trust yourself? Like, so the distracting questions got overwhelming, and I got further and further away from just my daily practice. And this album was a moment to just bring me back to where I need to be.
Yeah, and I mean, even with the music video for Bird Flu, we see black men being sensitive. We see them in lover boy moments as well. Why was it important for you to really depict that through the video and showcase what we don't normally see in mainstream media?
Just because love is the new gangsta. I think, like, that's the point of the album title, is to just show people, like, what really is cool. Like, gangsta was always synonymous to what we thought was cool growing up, and where I'm from. So for me, it was just showing folks, like, your family is what's cool, being vulnerable is what's cool, being soft when you need to be soft is what's cool, not being afraid to show it. Like, these are the things that should be promoted and should be more common, and I'm just trying to plant that, even if it's in one person or a couple of folks. Like, if I can plant that in somebody, then I'm doing my job.
I'm also a Studio Ghibli fan. I'm curious, how much did those films and the vibrancy and the way that he really uses animation to speak to bigger social issues, how much did that play into who you are as an artist and even your approach to this album, given that you do lean into a lot of color with this one?
Yeah, I think the Ghibli movies always help me musically. If I'm in a studio, I love to just, like, play them on the screen, cut the volume down while we work, and that way just I have some type of visual inspiration. And on the last album, we had a song called Spirited Away. And on this album, I think I was just kind of running Totoro back just over and over again. But yes, I love that they always take like a responsibility for the film to just be about more than just the movie watch or just the, like, they take coming of age like very, very serious, and they take like something's going on in the world very, very serious. So I try and mirror that, you know, in my music as well. And it's just nice to have that visual while you're working. So love Ghibli movies, love Totoro, love Castle in the Sky. Yeah, if I can get my bars and my metaphors to feel the way that those movies feel, then I'll be onto something.
I mean, I think mission accomplished. I think you're already there. And is there anything I didn't ask you that you'd want to add?
I'm just ready to be on the road. I think the most fun part about what I do is being able to just connect with the folks who listen. Tour and creating things are like neck and neck to me. Like, I don't necessarily have a favorite. There's a feeling that I get from making things that I don't get anywhere else, and there's a feeling that I get from being on stage that I don't get anywhere else. So I'm ready to get to that next step. That's it.